So Lindsay Lohan, as we've said, continues to be all over the tabloids since allegedly punching a psychic, no less, who offered to give her a free reading, which she probably needs, in a New York nightclub. And when she was in police custody, Lindsay kept asking, why does this keep happening to me?
One thing about her that I will give her a pass on. She walks into this bar or something, right, and this annoying psychic person comes up to her and says, can I give you a reading? Get away from me.
I mean, what are we doing in our society? I want you to meet a couple of really intriguing people. The first one is Keith Campbell. He is the co-author of The Narcissism Epidemic, a psychology professor at the University of Georgia. Also, Kay Wills Wyma. She is a woman who has successfully shown that there is a cure if we identify the disease and dedicate ourselves to treating it. Her book is Cleaning House, a mom's 12-month experience to rid her home of youth entitlement. David Barton was on the show last night, and he said, Glenn, you're doing the show tomorrow. You have got to meet Kay. And I said, David, I think I have Kay on tomorrow, so I'm glad you're here. So, Keith, before we delve into how to fix it and some of the stuff that we were just talking about off the air, can you take us through the study and what we're supposed to learn from this study?
Well, what we're seeing is, you look at these big expanses of time, and we're talking 40, 50 years, what you see is over time, young people have gotten more and more positive about themselves. They think they're better than other people, and that keeps going up.
Does this come from us saying, you are so special, you are special, and here's a trophy for you?
That's part of it. I mean, part of it's the self-esteem movement. I mean, we have a whole chalkboard here of
Do you want to go over and explain this?
Go to the
chalkboard and explain what this is.
Yeah, we talked about 4 big cultural trends. I mean, one being the self-esteem movement. So we have examples like with names today. Kids want or parents want their kids to have special, unique names. So we see it in the celebrities where their names are things like Blue Ivy or Inspector Gadget or whatever they.
Right.
That was close.
Right.
So we see the change in names, and what people forget about that is when we share a same name, we're connected to people. So I look at my father-in-law who just passed away, great guy from Brooklyn named Edward. Everybody in his family is Edward. Eddie, Big Eddie, Fast Eddie. But they all felt connected. They didn't feel special. They felt connected. Mm-hmm. Now we want our kids to feel special. We do things in education, so we try to give kids self-esteem by making them feel special. So example is the I Am Special song my daughter sang in preschool. I am special, look at me.
Okay, hang on just a where is the line here? Because we are all created in God's image. We're here for a purpose. We have a special reason, each of us, but it's not better than the other person.
Right.
So how do we...
I think it's just saying I'm a person of value, I'm a person of worth.
Okay.
I have dignity.
I count.
I matter. Okay. But not I'm better than you.
Right, okay.
Not look at me, I'm special, look at me, you will see someone special. I mean...
Yeah, got it. Got it. Makes sense.
Too much. But that's one of the balances. Self-esteem isn't as good. It's not so bad. Narcissism, which is that over-the-top specialness, is a problem. And then we have a change in celebrity cultures, the example we just gave, where we have, I mean, my daughter a couple days ago said, Daddy, why are rich people so stupid? And because she was watching TV and seeing these celebrities on television. And we have the interesting case of reality television where we take people who are narcissistic. I mean, we have data that the highest group of narcissism celebrities, which is a pretty high group, no offense, I mean, just that's what you get, probably get the same with professors, are reality television stars. And then we put them in situations where they have conflict with each other. Then we give them alcohol. Then we selectively edit it till it's horribly dysfunctional. And then we say, okay, here's reality. And you and I watch it and we go, this is crazy.
You know, I remember the first time I watched Survivor, I thought it was pretty good, but they learned after the first episode, it's to knife each other in the back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That was the learning.
Right. I mean, I wanted to start a reality show where we take a bunch of people out into survival mode, and at the end of each episode, if you did something that caused someone else to be harmed, you lose points. You know what I mean? You have to have each other to survive. That's not being taught.
But that's how we were built. I mean, we have to do that.
Right.
You put me alone in the tundra, I'm going to be polar bear food.
Right. Right. All of us.
All of us would be, yeah. But that's not how those shows work. But our kids watch this and they go, I want a car like that.
Sure.
And you know, my daughter wants, I want a pink Mercedes. Well,
right.
Like not just a normal Mercedes. She's 8 years old. Then we have these changes in emerging media, the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all these things I think are positive. They can all be used for good ends and for bad ends. But what we find on Facebook with narcissism is these are the people who have the most friends. They have the most self-promoting, the most provocative photos. And so when you go on your Facebook account and you say, gee, here are all my friends, you're going to get a lot of narcissism out there, a lot of self-promotion. You can say, look at everybody's world, it's so special, not mine. I feel kind of bad, you know. So it's like that Woody Allen movie where you're in the bus that's depressing, and then there's the party bus next door. It's an obscure reference, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Woody Allen is
little dated, okay? Yeah. I'll skip. And finally, there's been this giant increase in credit in our culture, and these all start, you know, and this is back to 1970, but it's exploded now. And I always think of credit as like your fairy godmother. You can be anything you want until the bill's due. And so we've had people buy houses, buy stuff they can't afford, and then you go, God, that person has this beautiful house. I want that house too. And you go buy it, and the whole culture gets filled with debt. That bubble collapses, and we should readjust, but we don't. You know, it should be one of those things like, take the tequila away. We had a big night, but now let's get sober and clean up. But instead, they dump more debt on us. So we've got kids today have $1 trillion in student loan debt, non-dischargeable debt. So we're doing it. The government's now taking over the debt roll.
Okay, so what does that lead us to in the end? It doesn't sound like this is really good at all. Come on over here and sit.
Yeah. I think when I start thinking long term, this shouldn't work. I mean, you shouldn't be able to have a society where people are famous for doing nothing, which is based on debt that doesn't exist, where kids grow up and say, I want to be stupid so I can be rich. I mean, that shouldn't function for a long time. It should collapse, but it hasn't, and that's the real question.
Here's something that, if you look at the study, if I'm not mistaken, things continue to get worse, even though we should have a reset.
Yes.
Should we not?
That's exactly what, yes. Just like in the Great Depression. You have the Roaring '20s, then you have the Great Depression, people get back to work, and you have the Greatest Generation. And we should have some sort of reset. Say,
and
hey,
it's
look,
not.
It doesn't seem to be. No, I think what's going on, and I don't have data for this yet, but I think what's going on is a lot of people just moving to sort of worlds of fantasy to get esteem. Going online, trying to get esteem from something else rather than from their own work.
I want you to remember that, because tomorrow we're going to talk about technology. And technology, just like all of this stuff, it's not, if you recognize that it is fire, fire is not bad. You need fire to cook. Technology is not bad. You just have to recognize the damage that it can do. This virtual world is really frightening to me, because IBM said computers are going to be able to have all 5 senses in 3 years. In 5 years, realistic sex online with virtual people. And I try to think, how are you going to date? Why would you date? If I'm a guy, and Ray Kurzweil, the head of emerging technology for artificial intelligence at Google, he told me, he said, Glenn, within 5 years, your computer will be able to read your mind. Well, if I can have my computer read my mind, and I can design a woman that I can have sex with and have inner relations with all the time, when I come home, I just put the goggles on, why would I date? What an amazingly bad chore that would be. I remember what it was like when I was dating. It's awful. It's awful.
Well, and kids don't really have that opportunity even now because, you know, going off the technology movement with the texting and everything, that's one of the problems is the lack of interpersonal communication skills.
Correct.
Which leads to this narcissism. And, you know, narcissism is so far beyond self-absorbment, you know, absorption, because nothing works with a narcissist. They cannot enter into relationship because they can't think of anybody other than themselves.
So it is impending collapse. It has to, because the society cannot go on. You become psychopaths. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. This should not keep going. We should reset at some point. It should happen.
That could be bad.
Just don't see it happening.
You don't see it happening now at all.
Not yet.
No, but there's hope on the horizon.
No, there is, because I think more and more people are getting it, and they're getting it more of like, look at those people over there. They're starting to say, ooh, what am I doing? What am I doing to help create this? Back in a minute.